Okay, so I thought I would do a quick little cleaning video. We just shot the video where we were testing out the bullet lube, and so I'm going to do a quick little video on cleaning, just basic musket cleaning for you guys. So this is the gun that we just shot that video with. It's the barrel, the breech is still a little warm, so you know this is legit. So the first thing you want to do to take a musket apart, generally speaking, you got to take the ramrod out. Most muskets will have issues if you try to take them apart with the ramrod still in. Next, with the Springfield, this is a 61 Springfield, and you press in these springs here, and they secure the barrel bands, and then you just take the barrel bands off. And by the way, you can tell if your Springfield barrel bands are in the right place because there's a little U stamped into the bands. I don't know if you can see that, but when you put it on, the U is always going to be on the right side of the gun, and it's always going to be facing. So if you stand the musket up on its butt, the U will always, you know, it will be right side up. So, pro tip for you guys. And then you take the tang screw out. This is called the tang screw. It is the fourth thing, besides the 3 barrel bands, that actually keeps the barrel on the stock. So we just take him out. And that was the springs in this gun don't like to stay in, so I'll just take them out while we're at it. We usually clean them anyway, why not? So the barrel is no longer, I mean, this barrel is really tight to the stock, so like it'll stay in more or less. There we go. So now your barrel is off your stock. Now if we want to take the lock off, take it down, so see, half cock, full cock, take it back down to its standard position. And the reason why you want to do that is it takes pressure off the trigger. The trigger is a separate piece that's stuck in the stock. I don't know how to get them out, but you don't really need to clean them either. It's just a piece of steel. It doesn't do anything. So to get that out, you want to take out these 2 screws. These are just the lock plate screws. Undo that. And I'm not going to actually, I'll just show a few things about the lock. I won't actually clean it except for the hammer, which will be a little dirty. After a rainy event, you'll probably want to clean your lock. Every year, you should take your lock apart and clean it. I'll make a video about lock maintenance eventually, and I'm just taking these little washers out so I don't lose them. So anyway, this lock is very tight in this stock. I still don't know the good way. I mean, you shouldn't really grab the hammer. There we go. I'm starting to get the hang of it. But that's really the only way to get him out. So anyway, so here's this lock. It's pretty much clean, except for a little bit of the lock plate has some powder residue on it, some burned up dirty oil, and obviously the hammer itself is kind of dirty. So all you do is just take an oily piece of, you know, scrap cloth or something and clean it off. If you want to oil the internals, just drop a few dabs of oil in there, work the lock around some, just like this. Oh, sharp. And that'll spread the oil around the tumbler and the other parts here. So that's just, you know, without taking it apart, that's the way you can maintain your lock. The main thing we're going to focus on is just standard stuff that you would do after battle. At a reenactment, after the battle, just would go back to camp and heat up some water. And this is just basic maintenance stuff you can do to preserve your barrel. So anyways, having done all of this, take your barrel and this rammer is disgusting because of the wax and the powder residue, so I'm going to do it too. But you can just do that with a rag and some water. What I'm going to do is pour some hot water down this.
Right.
Okay, so it's really easy. Just what you do is you take your boiling water and, well, we don't need mitts for this. It's just boiling water. It's very hot boiling water though. Pour some more down in there. It's very hot. And remember, this builds character. Handling things that have boiling water. So, yes, it's very hot. Plug it up at the muzzle. Ow. And the nipple here. Whoo! Slosh it around. You want to open the top one because of the air. If the air can't filter out, then it'll do what it just did there, where it sort of erupted on you. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Just sort of helps the water flow through the barrel, and if the water flows through the barrel, it'll pick up more powder residue. But you want to let it flow all the way. You can hear it. You won't be able to, but I still don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, slosh it around a little bit, let it out. See how it's all black and stuff? That's bad. You want to repeat this process until the water comes out more or less clear. You know, usually it'll be like, oh, ow, shit, a light blue or a light green. Sometimes it'll be clear. But that doesn't mean the barrel's clean. I'll show you what to do next. Oh, that's hot. I still don't know why it's doing that. Oh, I know why it is. Anyway, so, see, it's starting to kind of clear. That doesn't mean anything. It's still dirty on the inside. You're going to still need to run swabs through it. But, I mean, it's using hot water. It looks like the wax got the wax, too. Using hot water will probably get out 80% of the powder residue. So, you definitely want to start with hot water. If you're in the field, like at a reenactment or something, it's extra important that you use boiling water because it gets the barrel hot enough that any leftover water will evaporate. And so you don't have a barrel sitting around for, 18 hours or a day, however long it is, until you use it again with water in it, because that'll rust your barrel really fast. Anyway, other quick random thing. Usually it's a good idea to drop some water down here by the breech, just to make cleaning that off a little easier. Also, actually, I forgot to mention this. Will you grab the screwdriver, please? You can leave it on. Just grab the screwdriver. One thing I forgot to mention, because this is an exclusively Springfield thing, is this little guy right here. So Springfields are weird in that they have this little screw right here to clean out their vent holes. Because for some idiotic reason, their vent holes are at a 90-degree angle with the cone. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how the guns fire when you shoot them, because when the hammer comes down and hits that primer, because I don't know. Anyway, this is just another little area that, so, get that in a minute. The idea of this little guy is if your gun won't fire, or when you're cleaning it, you can just stick a nipple pick right in here and clean out the vent hole, which is the little hole in the side of the breech that allows the fire to, the spark from the primer to set off the main charge. So anyway, I am going to pour some water in there for what it's worth. And you can hear from the muzzle, some of it's getting in there. Anyway, it just seemed like a good idea. Make sure you don't lose that little bitty screw. Tiny screw. So anyways, itty bitty screw. So that's about it for now. I'm going to turn the camera off and do some more work. And after I've swabbed this out a few times, and I'm going to run an oiled patch over the lock and the screws. That's just normal maintenance stuff. But once I finish all of that, I'm going to show you how to swab out a barrel, which is the next easiest part of this process. So what I did was, between that last bit and this bit, was I simply took some oiled rags This is just some scrap cloth I found around my house. And you cut it into little, a couple inch by couple inch squares. It's not a huge deal. And you put some sort of gun cleaner or lubricant on it, gun oil, whatever, and you just scrub off your parts. So I scrubbed off all the stuff I took off downstairs, like the barrel bands and the lock. I just went over the lock a little bit. It was pretty much clean. The stock had a lot of wax, dirty wax, from my hands, from seating that cartridge and fiddling around with at the muzzle. A lot of that wax got on my hands, so obviously when I was holding the stock, when I was firing, it got all over the stock. So I had to scratch all of that off. And all the other the screws and whatnot, the miscellaneous metal parts. Things that pretty much you wouldn't need to clean the field necessarily, but like you would need to clean your barrel. Just because a lot of times units will inspect. And this one, all I've done with this barrel so far, well, besides I wiped off the outside of the barrel, I haven't done anything to the inside besides that water earlier. And, put a few swabs down it to make sure it's dry. This is at a reenactment, obviously, between battles. And the way you can tell if it's clean enough to work anyway is not clean, but is if it makes this pinging noise. So, if it makes that noise, it's clean enough. Obviously, if you're a reenactment, that's okay. But if you're at home and you're storing it for, a couple weeks or months or whatever, you obviously want to make sure it's completely clean. Also, I had to take a ton of wax off of the ramrod, obviously, because I was handling that too. And a lot of wax got in the threads at the end, because obviously when I was ramming it, that was the part I was grabbing because it has the most grip. So a lot of wax got in the threads, so what I just did was I took a piece of cloth and I put my fingernail in the threads and just, went around the threads and got most of that gunk out, and that's what this is. So anyways, so cleaning the barrel. Well, you're going to need a worm, and this is a worm. But before I get to that, this is an Enfield Private's tool, as in like the 1853 Enfield. This is an awesome tool that I recommend everybody get. Every reenactor should have one of these, and at least NCOs should carry one of them on them at all times. Because in this nifty little package you have a nipple wrench right here, and I will show you that in just a moment. You have a nipple pick for jabbing down in there and clearing out the cone and the touch hole area. And you have, for your various screw heads, you have a screwdriver. It's a pretty, this one is made of pretty soft metal, so it's a pretty crappy screwdriver. So that might take some work. And then of course you have this little arm to hold your worm. So anyway, for cleaning out the barrel, what you want to do is take some more of your scrap cloth, put some gun oil or whatever cleaner of choice you have on there, and get it nice and lubed up. Put your worm on the end of the ramrod. You can also use a tool like this, which will come in a standard gun kit. Also works fine, but if you're in the field, that's Sparby. So you put that on the end of your ramrod. I think there's still some wax on those threads. And then you just stick your patch on there. And I don't, like, some worms are tight enough that where you can just leave them in there like this. I don't trust that. So I like to jab mine through one of the little tongues, I guess you'd call them. I don't know. So anyway, roll up your patch like this and simply ram it down. That one's pretty tight. I don't know if that'll go all the way. My worm is pretty crappy. It's like this particular tool made of some pretty soft steel. So it's the the metal, the prongs have flattened out over time as I've rammed them down barrels. And so they've gotten a little wider than 5.77 like they're supposed to be. Now they're seeming to gravitate towards 5.8, that is 58 caliber, which makes it really hard to get them down barrels now. So anyway, I'm just gonna, this is just demonstration. I'm not going to show you this whole process. I'm just going to ram this down there to show you what it looks like. So just ram it down there and work it a few times, and whew, yes, that's typical. So you see how nasty that is. So some of that, a lot of that is powder residue in the water that I put down it earlier. And you see there's still a lot of water down in there. The powder really retains that junk. So we're just going to put that in here. And then basically you just do that over and over again until the patches come out clean. And it takes a few patches. The one thing about black powder shooting is it is very dirty. So like this might take me like the next half hour. The thing I hate about this hobby is cleaning the guns, because it takes so long, much longer than modern firearms, it seems anyways. But simpler than modern firearms. So anyway, you just do that over and over again. So I'm going to do it once more, just because, and then I'm going to show you what you do with your nipple wrench and your nipple pick, because that's also a very important thing that most new people overlook, but is just as critical, if not more so, than cleaning out your barrel. I hate this thing. So now that I have oil all over my hands. Oh, thought I lost it for a second there. So yeah, nasty stuff. So anyways, you get the idea there. Now I'm going to show you what to do down here by the breech end. So, a lot of gunk gets in the cone. So what you do is you take your nipple wrench on your nifty tool. There's also the American version of this tool. It's not quite as sophisticated. I don't have one. I'm very happy with this. But I'll probably get one for accuracy's sake. Oh yeah, it's a lot of water. Just use your nipple wrench, unscrew the nipple, and yeah, a lot of water got stuck in there. So you can see that's nasty. It smells like rotten eggs too. So, got this guy out, wash him off. A lot of times what I'll do is, this will be the first thing I do, and I'll just dump the nipple in some like a little cup of boiling water. That'll do most of the work for you. I'm going to set him aside here for now. So what you would do is take another one of your little rags and put some cleaner on it. This is too much for this, by the way. I'll just put a little bit on it this time. I've also got a bunch on my hands. So, and then, well, one thing you can do is you can take, so I just sort of like wrap it up into a little like cone like this, I guess. Stick it down in the cone, and then just use your nipple pick to force the fabric into the cone. And what this does is it just forces the fabric to spread out and catch water and powder residue and stuff. It's easier if there's more oil on it; it'll catch more of it, but it also. So, and I forgot to, usually when it's down there, if you twist it around a few times, in fact I'll do that. I know you guys probably can't see this very well. I'm hogging all of the space. So like I said, just push it down there with the nipple pick. So if you twist it around, generally in the direction of the threads is a good idea. And that's not in the direction of the threads, but whatever, you get the idea. And see, that helped a little bit. Anyway, so you can also use your nipple pick to clean out the nipples. See how it's not sticking out there. There must be a lot of crap in there, or it's just the wrong size, or what. Anyway, sorry, we had a malfunction there. So what, just clean out the nipple, because a lot of gunk gets down here, and a lot of times caps, what they do is they put like a little drop of whatever mercury fulminate substitute they use in the cap, and then either to help it dry or keep it in place, spread it out or something, they usually put these little bitty paper discs down in the cap. So a lot of times what happens is when you fire your caps, those itty bitty paper discs will get stuck down in the vent hole of the nipple. So, down in the cone, that is. So that's a pretty common reason for misfires. Other than that, I mean, the cause of most misfires is because the spark can't get through the cone for one reason or another. So another thing is a lot of muskets really build up a lot of gunk in these, in the cones, because a lot of people don't clean these. So like I said, you can do what I just showed you a minute ago, like, and with Springfields, you can take off this screw here, and you can jab through into the breech. That'll clean out the vent hole there. Other than that, and then, I mean, really that's about it as far as cleaning muskets go, just basic stuff. Like I said, I'll do another video about locks in particular. But yeah, other than that, I mean, just go over the gun with oily rags, you know, make sure it's dry, give it a good coat of oil. Some people, if they're storing them long term, will coat the barrel in grease. Just stuff like that, and you know, give it a good coat of oil, wipe all the excess off, you know, and store it in a cool, dry place. And I mean, that's just basic musket maintenance. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful. When I review it, I'll, you know, see if it is. If it wasn't, I'll make another one. I wanted to make a more inclusive one with like all the different types of muskets. The only thing about rifles is you really got to make sure to clean out the barrels because of the rifling, the lands and the grooves. It's a lot easier to get powder residue trapped in there, so you really got to scrub that barrel. But other than that, I mean, those are really all the basics of cleaning muskets, and you just, like I said, clean it until it's clean, and then put the gun back together and store it. So that's really about it. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.